It's Friday. It's earlier than usual. The sun's still out. I'm outside. But it is Friday, which means it's Eagles versus Giants, Week 7 preview. Let's get to it.
Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. I'm simply statue think they slate, dropping unrealistic magic. 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the millie, never hear me preach LeBron to Philly. Avoid you watching the Eagles all the way through to early 22. Authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. The 24/7, 365 way. Sports content for the reals that feel the day.
Happy Friday afternoon, folks. It is Eagles versus Giants Week 7 preview, both on the Nicky Steves and Hardcore Sports Network channels. If you haven't done so already, make sure to drop a like on the stream and subscribe to both channels. There you see my channel and the Hardcore Sports Network channel. Links are in the chat as always. And we're going to get into it. We got the Eagles Giants Week 7. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at MetLife Stadium. Eagles got to play on the road. They are minus 3-point favorites against the Giants in this matchup, which, considering how close the Eagles-Browns game was and considering it is a rivalry matchup, it makes sense that the spread's only 3. And considering the Eagles haven't exactly done a great job with the spread, that makes sense. But this is not a sports betting stream. This is a straight to the point wins and losses, key matchup stream. So let's get to the main point of it. We got the Eagles-Giants matchup, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we look at, obviously it's a division game, so there's a lot on the line. And even though, yes, we know recent history, we've had the Giants number, and the series, particularly since the 2010s, has shifted in favor of the Eagles. It is still a division rivalry matchup. Anything can happen. And it's a lot to look at here. We have, a few key matchups, and there's several things to point out on the injury report to look at. In just a second, when I finish pulling up the Eagles and Giants depth charts, we'll go over the starting lineups and the injury reports. I'll share the screen with you guys. You can get a better view of it. But before we do that, though, I'm going to actually get into some of the other key factors. Talk about the other key factors. So far, that both teams, some things that stand out is both teams have 8 giveaways combined, and both quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones, if you look at their stats, both have 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, which is interesting because as an Eagles fan, honestly, I talked about Hurts' struggles, but that puts it into a different perspective, seeing that he has the same touchdown to interception stat line to date as Daniel Jones. That puts in this fact that Jalen Hurts is not playing up to the expectations of that 2022 near MVP season. That's a key factor right there. Now, I talked about the struggles before in previous streams. I'm not going to get into that. But the point being, though, is both offenses are playing similar to each other, which makes this matchup a little bit more of a worried matchup than you would think on paper. You look on paper, Eagles are 3-2, Giants are 2-4. This has gotta be, right? This has to be an easy win, right? We just beat the Browns. Come on, this got to be an easy matchup, right? But nothing's easy in the NFL, especially when it comes to divisional matchups. And considering our offense have played similar thus far, but to be fair, the Eagles have dealt with some injuries, and now we're mostly healthy beside Jordan Mailata being out for a few weeks. We have Saquon, we have Lane Johnson back, we still have A.J. Brown back, Devontae Smith back. Now, Goddard, though, is questionable last time I checked, but we are mostly healthy, so that should be a benefit in this matchup. But then again, we have struggled at times too, even last week. But to be fair, last week we were just getting back into a rhythm with guys like AJ Smitty being back in the lineup. But we do have some, similarities in that regard. But then we also look at it too. The differences between the Eagles and Giants is Eagles have more high-end talent. Giants do not. Giants' best player on offense is Malik Nabers, who will be back after being out in concussion protocol for a few weeks. I looked it up on his player profile on ESPN. It says he is active, so Nabers will be in the lineup. And the Eagles versus Giants key matchups from NBC Sports Philadelphia has Malik Nabers going against Quinyon Mitchell. And I'll share the link to that if you guys want to see the article for yourself. Because I did get, so shout out to NBC Sports Philadelphia for this one as well, because I got a lot of key points from them, which I'll get to in a minute. But I'll share the article for you guys so you guys can follow along in the chat. But yeah, we're going to get right into it. First, we're going to start with the injury report now. Let's get into it. Share the screen with you guys in a second. We're going to look at the Eagles. We're mostly healthy, like I said. Jordan Mailata, though, he is doubtful, but it does appear he'll be out. Fred Johnson's likely to take that role at left tackle. Goddard is questionable. We don't know if he's going to be in or not. But then on defense, you got Jalen Carter and Milton Williams are listed as questionable. And Slay Jr., he did not practice Thursday, being yesterday. So there's a possibility he could be out. And there's the link in the chat to the NBC Sports Philadelphia article, which is where I got a list of some of the key matchups from, which I'll discuss in a minute. There's the link if you guys want to follow along with it yourself. But back to the injury report. Slay, yeah, he's questionable. He didn't practice yesterday, which puts his status for Sunday in doubt as of now, but time will tell. Mailata's doubtful. Jalen Carter, we don't know. It just says he's questionable last time I checked, but it didn't elaborate on anything. But but yeah, there you go. And then the Giants. So for the Giants, you got Devin Singletary, their number one running back's questionable. Darius Slayton questionable. You got Malik Nabers is back, and you got John Runyon Jr. on the Giants, which I find interesting for ironic purposes. And of course, let's not forget Andrew Thomas, the best tackle on the Giants. Their left tackle's on injured reserve, which that puts the Giants in a little bit of a hole, not having their best tackle. So they have a struggle at tackle as well. So it's not just us it's us without Jordan Mailata and the Giants without Andrew Thomas, though, for the season. And you got Brian Burns, their limited linebacker, and Dexter Lawrence is questionable. Dexter Lawrence. Hip did not practice Thursday session, so he didn't practice Thursday, similar to Slay not practicing for the Eagles, which puts him in doubt for the game. And then you got the punter, Jamie Gillen's questionable. You got Matt Hack would have to be the punter. Greg Joseph taking over for Graham Gano on injured reserve. Now, we'll see how that plays a factor. But remember, Joseph did miss a field goal late in the game against the Bengals. That would have made it a 7-point game, which why were the Giants going for a field goal instead of a touchdown when you're down by 10 beside me? But that's not the point of it. The point is the Giants do have a key injury at kicker. and the punter's questionable. So the Giants are banged up there. Andrew Thomas is out. And then the key matchups. Now let's get into the key matchups for this one. The first key matchup is, let's just go with the main one everyone's going to talk about. Let's get that out the way. It's Saquon Barkley versus the New York Giants, his old team. That's the matchup that the media is going to use to sell this game. It's the matchup that is the most interesting and intriguing on paper, that hypes up this game. Look, you got Saquon Barkley, 6 seasons with the Giants, 2 Pro Bowl nods, but he didn't have a lot of tools around him, not a lot of good linemen to help, and that did play a role in him getting injured. But now he's with the Philadelphia Eagles. So far, he's number 4 in rushing yards for the season amongst all running backs. And he has a good offensive line behind him. So Saquon's now, he's in a better situation talent-wise than he was with the Giants. And we got John Grega, long-time supporter of my football stream, stopping by. Thanks as always for your support. It's always appreciated. And you have Saquon versus the Giants. Now, Saquon, obviously, he's practiced against this team for the first 6 seasons of his career. He knows the Giants good and well, which creates a favorable matchup for us. So, obviously, that's the key matchup we're going to watch out for. Another key matchup is the Eagles' offensive line versus the Giants' defensive line, because even though the Giants are a struggling team, their strong suit is their ability to get to the quarterback. And here's the thing I noticed right now. When I was going through the NBC Sports Philadelphia article, the Giants, I already knew through ESPN, they have 26 sacks this season. So they're good at getting pressure on the quarterback, which is their strong suit as a unit. And then I didn't realize they have a less than 28% blitz rate. But yet they still find ways to get to the quarterback. So looking at it now, that whole the thing of we don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, I'm not seeing that as much as a valid point anymore. Now I realize the Giants don't blitz that much, but they find ways to get to the quarterback. But to be fair, that does in part have to do with the fact the Giants have an easier schedule than us. They've gone against teams such as the Browns, the Bengals, the Seahawks, whereas we've had to go against the Packers, the Falcons, who are still a solid team, the Bucs, who are a solid team. We've had a tougher schedule. That plays a role in it as well. But at the same time, we haven't really done that great getting to the quarterback. Our best performance thus far as a defensive line and getting sacks was last week when we got Deshaun Watson 5 times. But the point being is that the Giants can find ways to get pressure to the quarterback. Even though they've had the easier schedule than us, let's not underestimate this Giants defensive line's ability to get to the quarterback. So that's an interesting matchup. But here's the question I got for that Giants defensive line. What's going to happen when they got to go up against this Eagles offensive line? What about Landon? You have to go against Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson. What are they going to do then? But make no mistake about it, the Giants, don't underestimate their ability to get to the quarterback. Even though this is a better offensive line than most of the teams the Giants have faced, I don't underestimate their ability to get to the quarterback. And that's something we got to be mindful of. And that's something the Eagles got to plan around offensively, particularly at left tackle where Jordan Mailata likely won't be on Sunday. There's a good opportunity the Giants could bring heat from that side. And the Eagles are going to have to plan the playbook around it. Either put your top weapons to the right, so Hurts can throw in that direction and can roll out of the pocket to the right and find AJ and Devontae that way. You're gonna have to run the ball with Saquon because once he gets the ball, he can make big plays. So those are things the Eagles will have to do to plan around that gap of Jordan Law not being there, knowing that this Giants defensive line, despite having an easy schedule, they can get sacks. So let's not take it for granted either. And that's a key matchup there. The other key matchup, which isn't going to get talked about as much as Barkley, but it is still a key matchup. Apparently, it appears it's Malik Neighbors versus Quinyon Mitchell. It looks like, from what we're hearing, they're going to put Mitchell on Neighbors, which is a good matchup right there. You got it's highly skilled wide receiver rookie, highly skilled secondary rookie, highly skilled defensive back rookie. That's a good matchup right there. Malik Neighbors, so far throughout his rookie season. He has 35 receptions. Quinyon Mitchell has 6 pass deflections, which is 9th most among cornerbacks in the NFL so far. That's a good matchup right there. It'll be interesting. It'll be a good test for Quinyon Mitchell to see how he handles a young, talented rookie receiver in Malik Nabers. But so that will definitely be a key matchup there. That could have a huge factor on this game. Because so far throughout the offense, Daniel Jones' most reliable weapon is easily Nabers, no questions asked. And Darius Slayton, his somewhat credible option, might not even be playing Sunday. So that means expect Malik Nabers to get a lot of looks in the passing game. Expect Daniel Jones to try to make some plays with his feet. Which, if you take away Malik Nabers, Daniel Jones' most effective ability is to make plays on his feet, not with his arm. Which obviously emphasizes the point that Nabers versus Mitchell is a key matchup because Nabers gives the Giants the best shot through the air. So it's important that Quinyon Mitchell's on his A game for that matchup. Because now we'll see how far he's truly coming along. And then the other matchup would be, it sounds odd, but it's the Eagles defense versus Daniel Jones' feet. Because like I just said, you take away Malik Nabers, Daniel Jones' most effective ability is to scramble from time to time. We all remember that 2020 play where he had a clear touchdown, but he slipped and stumbled. The point being, though, is that Daniel Jones can make plays with his feet. So we have to be mindful of that. And that's just why I feel if we can get to him a few times, get a few sacks on him like we did with Deshaun Watson last week, we have a chance of minimizing their effectiveness. But one of the key things, remember, Daniel Jones can still make those plays with his feet. So it might not be as easy as it seems to get to Daniel Jones, but we got to find a way to get to him at least 3-4 times this game. That could help us out. But those are the key matchups from what I've seen. It's mainly Barkley versus the Giants, Eagles offensive line versus the Giants defensive line. Again, then you have Malik Nabers versus Quinyon Mitchell, and Eagles versus Daniel Jones' feet. The ability to stop him from making plays on his feet, because minus Nabers, that gives the Giants the best shot in this game. And there are other matchups we could look at too, such as the Eagles offensive line or the Eagles defensive line versus the Giants offensive line. How will the Giants offensive line hold up without Andrew Thomas? Can the Eagles make some plays on them? That's a key matchup there. The Eagles, wide receivers, A.J. Smitty versus the Giants secondary. That's another key matchup. I mean, there's several different matchups you could look at, but those were the main 4 that I wanted to cover. And with that being said, now it's time for the main part of this one, the keys to victory. Keys to victory. Well, the first key, the Eagles got to do something they haven't done all season. That's get off to a hot start. We haven't seen the Eagles do that. They haven't seen any games where they get off to a hot start in the first quarter, go right down the field, get a field goal or a touchdown to set momentum. We've yet to see that from the Eagles. And I feel, we definitely got to do that at some point. If we can go into this key division rivalry matchup, despite the odds, despite the fact that we're getting picked by most to win it, it's still a key matchup. We can go down the field, get some points early. That could set momentum if we get off to a hot start on offense, which we haven't done all season. And that could break the game open in a way we've yet to do so. So that would be one of my keys right there. Get off to a hot start. And I feel like ways you can do that, just test the Giants defense against Saquon early, right out the gate. Give Saquon the ball. He's ready. He wants to prove something against his former team. And you test that Giants defense and their ability to hold up against their former teammate right off the bat. And if things go the way it seems like it's going to go, Saquon could have himself a hell of a game against this Giants defense. And you can start that off first drive, maybe rely heavily on the run, get down the field, maybe get a field goal or even a touchdown out of it. That would be a great way to start off hot. First key to victory. The second key in this one ties into what I just said. Feed Saquon the ball, man. this is the most favorable matchup for him. It's a revenge game for Saquon. He wants to prove that the Giants made a big mistake by not giving him a long-term deal, giving it to Daniel Jones instead. Saquon's ready. He knows this Giants defense. This is the opportunity to just rely on the run for this one. Make him the main focal point of this offense. Do that early and just feed him the ball throughout the game. Give him 20-plus carries. He give him the opportunity to help break the game open on offense. And you can still use your offensive weapons in the passing game, too, with A.J. Smitty. And you can still have Jalen Hurts make some plays with his feet for sure. But yeah, definitely you want to mainly go with giving Saquon at least 20 carries. That'd be the main key to moving the ball downfield offensively. And if there was ever a game to do it, for obvious reasons, let's do it this one. That's the second key to victory. The next key to victory is try to get, if we got to Hurts, try to get rid of the ball quickly. Because I just alluded to it earlier, the Giants do have a solid defensive line. They can still get to the quarterback, which is their strong suit. On passing plays, try to get rid of the ball quickly or have Hurts make some plays with his feet to maybe scramble for a few yards. That's something the Eagles hopefully would work on, trying to get rid of the ball quickly to their guys in the passing game when they pass. That's one key right there. There's another key. And they got Greg Johns jumping ahead, giving me the 27-17 score prediction, obviously in favor of the Eagles. And then there's another, and my final main key to victory is get some sacks on Daniel Jones. We saw last week against the Browns, getting 5 sacks on Watson helped us out. Even though I kind of did rant about how it was ugly, the 5 sacks did help. That was one of the positives of our performance against the Browns last week. If we can do the same against the Giants on the defensive side of the ball, that will help us out. That'll take some pressure off Quinion Mitchell covering Malik Neighbors all day. And that'll give us an advantage. It did last week. It was able to slow down and contain the Browns to only 9 points defensively. Because remember, that touchdown was off a blocked kick. That doesn't fall on the defense necessarily. Defense only gave up 3 field goals. But yeah, point being is if we can get to Daniel Jones at least 3 to 4 times, that'll help us out. And then another key that Greg pointed out in the comments, no turnovers. Self-explanatory, because the Eagles have struggled with that at times. Hurts has 4 picks, a few fumbles. If we can avoid turnovers, especially if this ends up being one of those close games, that'll help us out big time in terms of controlling momentum, setting ourselves up to score points, and controlling time of possession. So that's another obvious and great one too. So thanks for pointing that out as well. No turnovers. So those are my main keys to victory for this contest. Let's do a recap. First, feed the ball to Saquon. Secondly, start off hot. Try to get down the field, get a touchdown early or field goal or on the opening drive. Try to get some points in the first quarter, something the Eagles haven't really done all season, but hopefully this would be the game where the Birds could finally do that, get off to that hot start. Another one, bring some heat on Daniel Jones. As John Grega pointed out, no turnovers. Those teams with turnovers usually lose. Absolutely. 100%. Yes, teams with the most turnovers do fall short. Like I could point back a few weeks ago to that Packers-Vikings game. It was a close matchup by the end, but those early turnovers by the Packers played a role in the outcome of that game. That's just one example of how, the Packers gave up a few turnovers and it ultimately cost them the game. So that's a great example right there. But yet that ties into our point there. So for my score prediction, before we get ready to wrap this thing up, I'm going to say score prediction. I'm going to go with the Eagles winning. I'll go 24-20 in this one. Because this could be a close matchup. Let's face it. We've seen by now that the Eagles are not likely to blow anybody out yet. And considering that Giants sometimes do play us tight and make it more competitive than it has any business being, it probably will be that way again for one reason or another. But I feel like the Eagles should get the victory in this one. And again, I do have Sirianni on the hot seat for this one, but I did my rant about Sirianni yesterday, so I'll leave that there. That's my prediction here. I do predict the Eagles to get the victory, which hopefully they do. We can at least get to 4-2. That'll be good in helping us keep pace with Washington, who's likely to get a win because they got the Carolina Panthers this week. So they're probably they should be 5-2, all things considering. So with that being said, it's important that we get a win to stay on top of the race for first in the NFC East, because I don't see the Panthers getting an upset win over the Washington Commanders in this one. So that's another reason I feel it's important that we got to win this game. I pretty much said everything I was going to say. If anyone in the chat wants to add anything to it, feel free to do so. Now, we just got to see what happens on Sunday on the field. And then I'll be back. Actually, on Monday, I'm going to do my recap instead of Tuesday. So we're going to see what happens. Hopefully, things will work out as we expect it to, and the Eagles will get the victory. But either way, we will be back to talk about it, win, lose, or in the rare tie, we'll be back to talk about it. Regardless of the outcome, on Monday, we'll see what happens. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's get this W. Let's roll to 4-2. Keep pace in the NFC East. With that being said, to everyone that watched and stopped by, thanks for your support as always. You guys are the reason I continue to do these live streams. Always appreciate your support. Have a great rest of your day or night if you're catching this on the replay. And until next time, Nicky Stees signing off. Fly, Eagles, fly. Peace.